Hello everybody, my name is Alex Serbul. I am head of data science of Bittix24 and I am technical lead of Bittix24 BI Connector project. Today I want to tell you about debugging and profiling techniques, effective techniques to achieve high speed of creating and rendering dashboards, charts, and uh, how to get as small data as you can from BI connector, because there are a lot of questions. People I ask questions every day how to take small data from BI connector for example 2 or 5 seconds, not for 10 or 15 minutes, and how to select some special fields from BI connector, or how to filter by this column, that column, because I am waiting uh, when I get data from Bittix BI connector for 15 minutes. It's crazy, really, it's crazy. So today I am planning to tell you about these interesting techniques, and I want to tell you about first about very simple techniques, very simple, like web debug. After it, I will show you additional techniques with increasing complexity, and in the end, we discuss how we can implement these techniques in Google Data Studio and Power BI. Also, I plan to describe the cons and pros of debugging in Postman software. I use Postman software for debugging REST requests to BI connector. It's very convenient for me, I think, and I hope it will be convenient for you. So let's go. First of all, I want to show you this page, and this page is about fields of all BI entities of Bittix24. For example, CRM deal, CRM lead, CRM deal user fields, CRM lead user fields, history of deals, history of leads, because leads and deals go through different stages in CRM, changing statuses, and telephony calls. It's interesting BI entity. Companies in CRM, contacts in CRM, projects in your portal, activity connected with CRM, for example, calls, events, emails, chats, and etc. And product roles in CRM lead, in product roles connected with CRM deals. So this is ID CRM lead. So the first level of debugging and profiling of BI connector is copy CRM lead, this ID, and I'm sorry, this is QR code of this is QR code of this page. Please pay attention. You can photo it and go to it. So first of all, the first level of debugging is you put portal URL, but on this page pbi.php token, put your token, your key, secret key here, and put ID of BI entity here, CRM lead, for example. You see CRM lead, and what I see. Uh, Let me start. Let me show you. Here we see a list of lists in JSON technical format. List of lists. The first list is list of names of columns of BI entity. ID, data modified, data create. For example, ID, data modified, data create. You understand? So you see names of columns, and after it, each row represents an entity. For example, this first lead, second lead, etc. etc. These are leads. These are leads. For example, first lead, second lead. Why it is important? Because you see raw data. You see raw data, nulls, for example, or a string, for example, on a complex string. You can understand what data is emitted from BI connector interface before entering to Google Data Studio or Power BI code. It's very important to see raw data. It's see raw data. It's very important mode. And after it, you can enter to browser debugging mode and repeat query. You know this is get HTTP get query because I open URL in the browser, and here I see that size was reply was 3.8 megabytes, almost 4 megabytes, and it took it was completed for 6.5 seconds. So first profile step is here in browser. If you wait, for example, 1 minute or 2 minutes or 15 minutes or 5 years for the answer, please listen me. Later I will explain how we can we can change this time to small time, how we can decrease this time considerably. So very simple, yes. The next step is let me show you Postman interface. Postman allows us to debug and profile these queries, but not only get queries. Like when I open URL, I use get HTTP get query. Now I can use HTTP post query. It's very important. Post allows us to use different keys here and decrease the size of answer and time of answer. Let me start with this. So I have a post in Postman is a software, free software. URL of your portal, web page. Please pay attention. GDS, because this is GDS frontend, not Power BI frontend. Just for this example, just now for the example only. And mode is data. I will change this mode. I put here not data. I put here show tables mode, and it's useful mode. I put here show tables, and I can delete table equals CRM lead. Look here, show tables. And this key is key of secret key of your BI analytics. You know this key. And I see list of tables. Do you see? With description. Interesting mode allows you to get a list of BI entities that you can query on your BTX24 portal. Very interesting mode. And if I delete this en, so I can get uh, this text in Russia. In Russia. Yes. In Russia and in Russian, and put n. You put en after key, and you can see English uh, titles about entities. The next mode is desk. You can see details about table fields. So I put CRM lead key, table name CRM lead, and desk mode equal desk. Now I see description of each column in CRM lead. ID, name, this type, number, and etc. Very interesting mode. We use this mode for Google Data Studio. You can open a JavaScript of our BI connector code in Google Data Studio. It's free. You can see it but not modify it, of course. and you can see this technique in this is in our code. It is not secret technique. It is not secret technique. It's open. But now I just explain you this technique in simple words. In simple words, like drinking beer and explaining this methodic of very useful, I think. The next is data. Data mode allows us to see rows, rows of a table, but in a more heavy JSON format, more heavy JSON format, for example, with heading, with types, with maybe schema of data. Do you see it's slow mode. So you see schema, and you see after schema you see you can see data you can see data rows data. Maybe it will be useful for you. I sometime I am working with this mode for debugging. And now let's move to Power BI front end. Pay attention here. I use a portal URL here, and I use the URL of Power BI front end. And if you use Power BI, for example, use this front end, please. This front end is compatible to Google Data Studio protocol and supports all keys that I will be telling about after some minutes. So you please you can use these techniques in Power BI too. The first technique is date range. So I can put date range and select information entities of this select rows of this BI entity for example only for November, not for 5 years, but for example for November. Let's put this here. First November and 30th 30th November, and look and send query. Now I will see. Now I see leads modified in November. Why modified? You can ask why modified. Look, this column is dot date modify, and the values in this column is November, 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 November. You see, it works. It works. But that create here is October. You see, it's different. May, July, for example. So this is we are thinking now using dot modify, because dot modify is default column for filtering leads by data, and for fitting deals we use data create. But you can change this behavior. You can change the behavior, for example, by using this config param time filter column. I put this I put this here. I put this here, and I change. I want to change config param, and I put date create. So filter leads by not by date modify, but by date create. And please show me leads for 22nd of October. 22nd of October. 22nd October. Let's see. Date create 22nd of October. Now you can see that date create contains 22nd of October. Yes, now we are filtering now by date create, and data modify is November, October. So this is different. So now we can filter leads by any date column. in this start date and end date, including rows in this and start date. It's very useful technique because it allows us to considerably decrease the amount of rows emitting from BI connector. So you can speed up loading data to PowerBI or to your dashboard on in orders. For example, from 15 minutes to 1 minute or 10 seconds, for example, on 1 second, for example. You can ask which other calls I can use here. The answer is very simple. You look here, and you can select any date or date time column that modified it. Create, for example. This is for leads, and for deals that close you can use. Do you understand that? Because date, for example, any date column will work okay in this config key. Let's move on. The next interesting config param is fields. Fields allows us to select only only needed fields. It's very important because you can select the speed of processing a query selecting two fields is orders less than speed of processing query with all fields. For example, in user fields tables, like in table in BI entities like deal user field and lead user fields, very often there are a lot of columns. For example, 1,000 columns or 1,500 columns, and processing is maybe not speed, slow. So you can select only needed columns here, and let's look. I push send, and I see that server returned ID that create that modify columns. Very convenient and with very high speed. Very high speed. Do you see? Very high speed. Please use this technique. Very important and useful. Let's move on. Now the last very interesting method of decreasing the count of rows and count of data and amount of data, especially for big companies, is using this key named dimension filters. Dimension filters is opened technique and key because we support Google Data Studio protocol, and Data Studio uses this key very often. How we can use this key in Power BI, for example? Let's see. I put this key here, and I tell here, hi, I want to select IDs having values 6 and 7. So I want to select only these IDs. Type include, so take only these, not other instead of this, but these 6 and 7 IDs using operator equals. Let's see, send, and you see it works. I select only 2 rows instead of maybe 1 million rows. This key allows us to, in some very heavy loaded cases, for example, when we use BI connector and we have limit, for example. Let me show you. For example, uh, you have BI connector and you want to select data. You have limits in BI connector, you know. And for example, you bought enterprise 1,000, yes. it allows you to work with 1 million lines. But you have data more than 1 million lines, more than 1 million lines. But what to do? Just use this config param, and you can overcome this limitation. And Google Data Studio uses this automatically, but in Power BI you can use this config param, very useful config param. Now you know how to uh, uh, profile and debug areas in of Power of BI Analytics, BT24 BI connector, and all modules supported by this key, and all these modules are described on this URL. On this URL, it's URL describing a protocol of Google Data Studio, and I created a QR code of this URL, and this is what look here. So this is description of this protocol. So you see config. So you see date range, fields, dimension filters, and I showed it. I showed you it. Config params, date range, dimension filters. So we support all these fields, all these keys. Please put attention to these very important key dimension filters, and look here at operator. Operator here is what supports not only equals, but contains in list between. We support most of these operators, but not all. As far as I know, we don't support yet regex because for security limitations. But nevertheless, it will allows you to work effectively with big amounts of data. Now, for example, it can be very slowly to pull 500,000 rows from server. It may take, for example, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but you can decrease, you can simplify query using these calls and filters, and your analytics will be working on high orders with more high speed on orders. Um, and This is about Postman, and this is about how Data Studio works. So Google Data Studio uses these fields and keys automatically. So I showed you this for debugging and understanding how Data Studio works. But you can pull these ideas to Power BI. For example, in Power BI, I can freely let me show you how it works in Power BI. Power BI uses different syntax, and let's look at this So, for example, you know that we can filter data in Power BI using data range, and we can change data column, use it for filtering data columns using this config param time filter column. This is the same data like here, the same, and like here. But Power BI uses different syntax only. So here, for example, fields are list of objects. JSON list of JSON objects having name. And Power BI, it is the same fields, but list is they use this form of bracket to show list, very very funny, and they use a square bracket to show object. So vice versa than in other word. But I just reformatted this data in Power BI syntax. For example, now we can select all fields. Let's check. Now I select all fields. I select all fields. in leads, and you will see all fields of leads. This all fields of leads. And now let me please pay attention here. Advanced editor. I just quoted commented these lines. These lines try to put a type, force a type for each column. But now I want to restrict the needed columns only. I want to select needed columns only. So I don't want to use these forcing types because it lead to error. You understand? So now I ask server to return only three fields. Only three fields. I ask server to return only these three fields: ID, date create, date modify, and let's look on the result. Leads. You see, the server returns only three columns. But I beg you, I ask you to, in any cases, every time test this technique first in Postman to see how it works, to see speed, to see amount of data, return date. It's very important to see the raw data in Postman first. It's very important. And after it, you can put this to Power BI, because Power BI is just a tool for how can I say, very funny people, simple people, don't understand in math, don't understand in statistics, just people that want to just put buttons and be funny. So, but Postman is for some technical people, but it is not about programming. So test here and put it here. And now I will show you how we can uh, uh, we can use the dimension filter here. So I asked, please select only IDs with values 6 and 7 and using operator equals. So I want to get only two rows for analysis, for later analysis of Power BI. Let's check it. Leads. Do you see? It works. So I just transferred all these keys, config keys to Power BI. It works. Beautiful. Um, what I want to say at the end. I want to ask you to read documentation carefully, in about Power BI, about Google Data Studio, about Postman, because I get a lot of questions because people don't want or don't want or don't understand. It is very important to read documentation. A lot of questions can be answered by reading documentation for Power BI and Google Data Studio. But this is just from documentation too. But today I wanted to collect it one box all information about how we can solve this complex task of debugging profiling of BI Connect. This is all the possibilities you can use to increase the speed of analytics and to decrease the amount of return data by using data range, by using a different data column, by selecting only needed fields. It's very important, especially for user fields. It can increase speed on orders, and very important technique. But this is useful for only very big portals having millions and millions of rows, especially history and CRM, leads and deals. There can be tens of millions of rows. So it allows you to get results in a reasonable time, not for hours, but for for minutes or seconds. And I think it's all. I think it will help you to achieve new goals in BI analytics. And see you later. Uh, bye bye.